We are doing Srimad Bhagavatam Canto 11 Part 2. This is chapter 28. We had done till verse 18 till yesterday. The discussion that was there till verse 18 was, there is no absolute factual basis, and whatever that we see with our mind, speech, life air, bodily functions, it is unreal. We have to cut this with the knowledge. Now this knowledge can be gained through following a spiritual master. So when you get a spiritual master, you will be able to, he will be able to guide you. But you cannot say that, I want to get this through the normal channels like schools, the way you pay the fees and so on and so forth. No, it has to be done by worship alone. That means when you worship the spiritual master, then the knowledge can be transferred. It is not like a bookish knowledge, it is not any kind of a knowledge which you can get it from the marketplace, just like that you go, maybe search on the internet and get it. No, then that is not the knowledge that you are getting. So this is what we had discussed as of yesterday. We are doing Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 11, Part 2, Chapter 28. The chapter is called Jnana Yoga. This is a teaching of Sri Krishna to Uddhava. Now this is called Uddhav Gita. Otherwise, we are doing verse 18 from Chapter 28 of Jnana Yoga. Real spiritual knowledge is based on the discrimination of spirit from matter. It is cultivated by scriptural evidence, austerity, direct perception, reception of the Puranas, historical narration, and logical inferences. The absolute truth which alone was present before the creation of the universe and which alone will remain after its destruction is also the time factor and the ultimate cause. Even in the middle stage of this creation's existence, the absolute truth alone is the actual reality. So there are two things which are mentioned over here. One is, how is this knowledge fructifying in a person? You have the knowledge is existing in this material world. How does it fructify? How does it come to fruition? Naturally, the reason why you want this knowledge is because you want to get out of this cycle of rebirths. That is the first thing that we have to know, right? Why do you need this knowledge? You don't want to be born again and again and again and suffer the same fate over and again, because it has to stop somewhere, right? You need to stop it somewhere. So this knowledge is important. So it has to come to you. Second, it is talking about how before, during and after the time of this creation, what actually happens? What is it that stays behind? What is it that stays? So we are doing this in two parts. So the first part we will do. Real spiritual knowledge is based on the discrimination of spirit from matter. This is the beginning. What does it translate into? Everything in this material world, whether it is a complex theory that you are reading, maybe you are looking at some historical stories in the stones, archaeological finds, maybe you are looking through a microscope or a telescope, or for that matter even in psychology you go to a psychiatrist or a psychologist and you make certain judgments. Now what are these judgments based on? They have done that research. There is something available. Like say for example, if you are doing archaeological research, then naturally what you are doing is you are finding those artifacts and then you are sending them for carbon dating, and then you are going through the historical data that is available in the past, maybe the language, maybe the people, whatever it might be. We are just analyzing it and then coming to certain conclusions. So let's say for example the cave paintings which are there in France, Now these have been identified as 25,000 year old. There are some cave paintings in France. So how did they arrive at this? So there was a certain scientific methodology used. So there is a technique used. Now in spirituality, what is it that you need is what we are doing over here. So the opening statement says, it's based on the discrimination of spirit from matter. Everything that you see, touch, feel, experience in this universe is directly associated to matter. You understood? Everything that you experience in the material world is directly associated with matter. But the study of spirituality has nothing to do with the matter. This is the first thing that you need to understand. So anybody who is giving proof of whatever archaeology or science or physics or chemistry or universe, you name it, as somebody who is an astrophysicist is giving you some great funda about some theories and how this universe began and all that, he or she is talking only about matter. Now matter can be light also. Light, please understand, light, energy, sound, all these are energy sources, matters. And they matter to human beings and to the knowledge base. But spirituality has nothing to do with matter. Did you understand? So any person who is raising doubts in spirituality by scientific basis is doing something absolutely crazy, because I am telling you it has nothing to do with matter. The scriptural texts are also discussing that it has nothing to do with matter. I use matter to arrive at some conclusion. Now, what do you mean by matter and conclusion? Do you know what is the meaning of the word matter? This is a scale. Now, I can measure with this scale the size of anything, that is lengthwise, isn't it? But the size of that particular object is known by using this scale. This is also matter, that is also matter. So if I use my cell phone and I say, okay, what is the size of this? So I am going to hold it like this against it and then arrive at the size. But then I have come to know the size of this, right? Length and breadth and height. The moment I come to know the size, why do I need the scale? Did you understand? So I discard the scale. So now I know the size of this matter. Exactly how science is used. Science gives certain proofs relating to its formulas. The formula will say that this particular star contains this particular element. How does a person come to know that there is hydrogen and helium on the sun? Through various scientific techniques, spectroscopy or whatever. I don't know what are the things that they do. But whatever that they do, they are using scientific basis for arriving at the conclusion. The instruments and equipment is not needed once you know that thing, correct? Here, what is being said, it is knowledge on spirituality is based entirely on the spirit form. Nothing to do with matter. Got it? In my last and the previous satsangs, I made it very clear to you, everything that you go through, whatever anger, lust, greed, you name it, all kinds of emotions you go through a terrible kinds of situations in your life, no money, this, that, all that is connected only to the body. And everything connected to the body is unreal. Did I not tell you? I proved it to you that everything connected to the body is unreal. And spirituality has nothing to do with the body. So do not ever mix up the body concept with spirituality. Did you get the point? So discrimination is the first thing that you need to understand in knowing spiritual. Remember, we did what is called in the first previous one to it, dispassion. Then we did detachment. So last time it was detachment. Detach yourself from the body, detach yourself from relatives, detach yourself from every relationship that I was speaking about. What is the relationship that we are talking about? To objects, human beings, places, time, everything. You have to discard all that. So first was dispassion, second one was detachment. Now we come to the third important point, which is called discrimination. Discriminate. All that is happening in this material world is connected to matter. It is not connected to spirit. And spirit is within you. So we are discussing about the spirit. And how do you get this? Please remember, in the previous verse again, it was told to you that your spiritual master is going to teach you these things. So first you need to go to a school, an ashram or a place where the spiritual master will impart you that knowledge. Correct? So how is he going to impart that knowledge to you? He does it by means of the techniques which he has himself developed. So some masters may say you sit in meditation, some will say you do the japa yoga, somebody will be. So every master has his own techniques, okay? So it is not that one master's technique is wrong and the other one is right. Nothing like that. Sorry. Everybody is focusing on how to reach the spirit and not the matter. Right? So even in yogasana, if somebody is saying you need to do meditation and yoga, they are telling you to go beyond the body and the mind and the senses naturally. When you go beyond the body, mind and senses, that means you are entering the domain of spirit. Correct? So that is where you have to go. So discrimination is important. How do you get to it? There are scriptures which we are reading. Just now we are reading what is called as the Bhagavatam. Isn't it Srimad Bhagavatam? Otherwise we do the Bhagavad Gita. Sometimes I do some other texts. Every time I am doing some different texts. So when you read the text, when your guru gives you explanations or an understanding about the subject, you are getting scriptural evidence. You understand evidence? Proof. Somebody somewhere has created this proof. Now, how does this proof come into existence? I will give you an understanding now. Now, this is a very recent thing which happened yesterday, or rather day before yesterday. In Chennai, there was a court case. Alright? Now, there is this lady. She was allowed for the first time in Indian history to write only her name as a parent in the birth certificate of her child. No need of father's name. Do you know, every time in India when you write some form, you have to write your father's name and your mother's name? You know that, isn't it? Even on the birth certificate, it is a must. You have to give the name of the father. So what happened during that time was, when she gave birth, now she was already divorced from her first husband. Alright, she was divorced from her husband. So this lady went to a clinic and through artificial insemination, that is taking a sperm from outside, she got pregnant and she delivered a baby. So somewhere in the hospital or wherever it was, one of their friends or colleagues' name got added as father's name. And this case went on for 2 years. The lady said, this man has nothing to do with the child. And nobody was willing to accept it. Nobody. Even the registrar of birth and death said, this is not possible. You need a father's name. So the lady went to the High Court, Chennai High Court, and she fought the case. And finally, after 2 years, the Chennai High Court has given a ruling that that man has no way connected to this child. And the woman has done artificial insemination. They don't even know who is the sperm donor. So cannot be written. The name of the father cannot be written. So only the name of the mother is sufficient. Isn't this a historic ruling in India? Now, 1 month later or 2 years later or 10 years later, some case will come which is exactly like this. The woman will say, I don't want to tell the name of the father. There is no father. There is already a precedent, isn't it? Remember this case now which I told you about? The case exists and the ruling has already come. There is no need of father's name. So henceforth, we can take it for granted that that became a precedent, a written word. Now it will go in the history. And once it goes as a history, it literally becomes a law. So then why will a woman want to ever name their child, father is this one and mother is this one? There is no need. She may have the option of not giving out the name of the father. It creates a tremendous amount of change in the entire ruling, isn't it? So legally, the whole thing changes. So now did you understand? The evidence was given by this lady and this new law, this new thing came into existence. Now, you try your level best after this to disrupt it. Nothing can change. Why? Because it's a law, it has become embedded there. This is what is called scriptural evidence. The evidence is existing there somewhere. Somebody has arrived at it. Now, I don't need to go back in time and say, oh, who is this great guy who went and did it? Nobody is going to say anything like that. Yes, it is there, I accept it. So, scriptural evidence exists in books, in your teacher's training. That means your spiritual master gives a training, he tells you that this is what it is. So, scriptural evidence is what proves to you. Secondly, now when you are doing this scriptural evidence, where you have it, that this is what it is all about. What is it? Proof is there. Second thing, in the ashram you are taught something very unique. Austerity. What is austere? Austerity is a word in English dictionary also, it is very much there, no? But in the ashram, what is the austerity? Think about it. In our life, we have to live simple, frugal lives, isn't it? Simple, frugal lives. Did you see yesterday's wedding? The hats which the women wore for the wedding must have cost a bomb, isn't it? The dress, Meghan Markle and the prince's wedding that was there, each one, every person over there had to wear some fancy, dresses so that it suits the purpose, suits the occasion. Were they austere? From no angle were they austere. They were frivolous in nature. They were useless because these dresses are of no use after this. Do you think I can wear that fancy hat with that kind of a stuff tomorrow when I am going to work? Just imagine, if I go to work tomorrow wearing that fancy hat and the gown, will anybody, they will all laugh at me even in the public transport or wherever I am going, they'll say this fellow is mad or this woman is mad, isn't it? So what happens to those garments? The amount of money that they spent is gone waste. So austerity teaches you not to do this. Correct? Frugal living. You don't need so much. Can you live in a suitcase? Can you be clean? Take a bath. No, there is no water here. Even the Eskimo must be taking a bath. Why are you saying that there is no water so I can't take a bath? No. The cleanliness, the basic term austerity can be directly linked to all this. So when you go to the teacher, when you go to the spiritual master, what does he teach you? How to become austere in this world. Why? You want to reach this God, no? If you are going to be bothered about your clothes, you are going to be externalized. Basically, you are looking at external things. And when somebody says something to you, you are thinking about internal things, isn't it? Think, oh, what is she thinking about me? What is he thinking about me? Why are you bothered about somebody else's thinking? You know, there is no need absolutely. What other people think about you is absolutely not important, because if you are living austere life, then what is the need to think about what other people think? You are clean, you are neat, you are simple, you don't have any fancy, wants and desires. Then you are not focused on the external. Otherwise, you are going to be bothered about everything. What I wear, how I look, this, that, all those kind of things, isn't it? In spirituality, nobody cares a damn about those kind of things. No external emphasis. Internally also. What will anybody think of me? Now think of, Priyanka Chopra or all those great people who went for the wedding. What are they going to think when they attend the wedding? How is everybody going to look at me? How are they going to think about me? What is the press going to say about my dress? Isn't that what they are thinking? You got what I am saying? What will the prince look at me and say? What will the princess say? Now she has become a princess. Well, everybody is bothered about other people's opinion. The idea is, don't be judgmental. Judgmental. How is that word coming into the play? If you are focused within yourself on the spirit, why will you bother about what anybody thinks of you or not? Isn't it? It is not important what anybody thinks of you. You have to be clean, neat, tidy, all those kind of things. Kind, compassionate, loving. All those, all the good words that I keep on saying, you do that, then what does it matter what anybody thinks about you? You feel happy with yourself and you know that you can face God tomorrow. Correct? There is no problem. I have not done anything wrong. There is actually no right or wrong. So even saying that, God, I didn't do anything wrong, you are doing wrong when you say these words. So, then how do you know? Through austerity you know. When you are austere, you remove the external and the internal covering of yours. Because you are not bothered about it, then you understand the spirit. This is one more method. First was direct perception, second one was austerity. Third one is called direct perception. Directly you can perceive the Lord. The spirit can be seen by you, can be understood by you. Am I not contradicting my own statement? First I said you cannot use the senses to see, and now I am saying you can actually see. You know how it is possible? It is possible by two things. You can become spiritually perfect in two ways. First is by grace, and second one is by going through the process. The process is important. Process of going towards realization is important. So that is important. And first one is called grace. What is the grace? The Divine Lord Himself says, okay, I grant you the grace. So He sanctions you what is called as spiritual knowledge. Sanctioning. The Lord sanctions you. Second one is called the Guru's grace. Remember, we were talking about your spiritual master. The Guru's grace comes in simply if you follow all the rules and the regulations. You understand what I am saying? Remember in the previous verse what was mentioned? Don't forget the previous verse. It is only sharpened by the worship of a bona fide master. The spiritual knowledge will be granted to you by doing seva, worship. Worshipping the spiritual master, you can get it. This knowledge is possible. So one is by grace, the grace of God and Guru. Correct? This is what I have always told you. Grace of God and Guru, and second one is through the process, the entire process. Now we are actually doing all the process only. Direct perception, that means you can understand the spirit through this. Reception of the Puranas, historical narration. By listening, now I am teaching you about history, isn't it? Puranas, I am teaching you about Puranas. Sometimes I tell you stories. By being in the company of the holy and listening to the scriptural stuff. That means when you are going through the scriptures with a bona fide teacher, just by listening, you can get direct perception. And the last one is the most difficult one. Why? Because you are going to use all the faculties. All the faculties. You know what the faculties are? Your body, mind, intelligence, and so on and so forth. When you use them by scientific basis, you are using the laws of science. Laws of science you are using to understand God, to understand the spirit. That is called logical inference. How is it called logical inference? You are using everything that is there by scientifically testing it out. Now you may say, how is that possible? I will tell you. You have been, sometimes told, do yogasana. When you do the yogic activities, you will find that there is a rise of the kundalini inside your being. And the rise can actually be felt by you. People think that it is some fakeology. There is no such subject as kundalini. But of course they don't know about it. If you don't know about a bird which is living in, say, Greenland, because I have not been to Greenland, and whether there are birds in Greenland also I don't know, or Papua New Guinea, you know that very far away thing in the Pacific. Who has gone to that place? Nobody has gone. You go in the YouTube and see the birds of this Papua New Guinea. Okay, there is a place, Papua New Guinea. It's an island. It's a big island. Only 5% of it has been explored. 95% of the island, it is as big as I think Australia. I don't know how big it is. I think it is. I don't know. It has not been explored. So if there is a peculiar bird, I wouldn't even know about it. So it is exactly like this. Some people can arrive at some conclusion even without knowing. So how can they arrive at that? So logic is required. So scientific basis is required. So logical explanation is required for getting to some answers. I see YouTube, then I can say, oh, this bird exists in that place. Isn't that how you do it? Logically you can say, okay, I've seen it in YouTube. Maybe there is something like that. Now what is it? I told you there are two parts to this answer. So first part I have finished. The second part is the absolute truth which alone was present before the creation of the universe, which alone will remain after its destruction, is also the time factor and the ultimate cause. Even in the middle stage of the creation's existence, the absolute truth alone is actual reality. Now, what is this? We were talking about the spirit, correct? The spirit belongs to what is called as the spirit soul domain, Jeev Atma. The moment I attach the term soul or Atma, it cannot be individualistic, cannot be individual. Then it becomes whole, right? So when it becomes the whole, the spirit soul has absolutely no form. It has no form. It is beyond the normal concept of human beings. We cannot think about those kind of things. Our mind are not trained to do this kind of a thinking. Then it becomes the absolute truth, which is far beyond our ken and understanding, and yet it exists. That is called the absolute truth. There was a very unique question which came up in a satsang today, and the question was, why is it that in the Bhagavatam and the Bhagavad Gita and some other place, it is mentioned that in the lower category, why is it that a woman's existence or a laborer and other birds and these, why are they classified? So this is a very, very dangerous answer. I know it is something which you will say, how can that be? We are all born equal. Isn't that? Everybody will say these words. The law says we are equal. Okay, I will try explaining that to you. I am going to start from the spirit soul concept. I am starting from the spirit soul concept. Now, hypothetically, this is a hypothetical way of looking at it. Hypothetically, think of yourself. You are God. You are God Almighty. So, I give you the onus of deciding what birth the person can have. Alright? So you are God Almighty, you are going to take the decision. You are the judge for today. Now, in front of you, there is a soul, a spirit soul. Remember, a spirit soul has no body, no body. Now you want to give as a God a body to this person. Remember this, you are going to grant a body to this person. Did you get what I am saying? You are the God Almighty for today, and you are going to grant a body for this individual soul, spirit soul, which is there in front of you. You go through the list of karmas this person has. How many of them are there? Gazillions, billions, trillions, so many karmas are there. Now you have a choice of giving them bodies. Bodies. A male, a female, and in between, LGBT or whatever you want to call it. An animal, a bird, anything. You are allowed to give a body to this person, any kind. If you are God and if you have to decide on this issue, which body do you think you will give so that the dissipation of karma happens faster? You understand what I am saying? The karmas can be used up faster. How do you use up karmas? By doing all kinds of karmic activity. Did you understand this? A lot of work gets done, so the karmas get used up. So will you give a man's body or a woman's body? You are God. Which body will you give? You will 100% give the body of a woman to this spirit soul. Do you know why? More karmas will get erased from this spirit soul's life, isn't it? Because a woman is involved in a million and a billion things more than a man. Can you compare the amount of pain, trauma and whatever that she goes through during childbirth? Can a man even come 1% to it? No. The amount of trouble that she goes through for taking care of the family, the newborn, to the children and so on and so forth, looking after the house, the amount of things that she does, can anybody compare that? No. So naturally, as God, you will give the spirit soul a body of a woman. But this body is actually a vehicle for dissipating more karma. Dissipating more karma? Removing the karma, isn't it? Removing the karma. Do you think that is a punishment that you are giving? I want you to think, is it a punishment to this soul? Or is it because you want the karma to be dissipated? So now you as a God decide, whom do you want to give this particular body to? So what is the body that you will give? A laborer's body. The laborer works day and night in the field, wherever he is working. You have seen those people carrying on their backs or working in the fields continuously. Have you not seen them? Are they dissipating karma or are they accumulating karma? They are dissipating more. The birds, the animals. Well, a chicken would be dissipating more karma than a human being, isn't it? Because anyway you are going to catch her and put her in a coop and will make her give all the eggs all the time, right? And then you are going to cut her and eat it. As a human being, that is what we do to the chicken. So you think chicken is not going through a torturous life? Likewise the birds, likewise the animals. So this is what the answer is. You decide as God, if you want the karma to be dissipated, which body to give. You will find that a woman's body is far more capable than a man's body to dissipate that additional karma that is there. A man's body is incapable. That's it. Why is it called a lower birth, not an upper birth? Simply for this reason is because there is more karma getting washed off. Simple. I will give you another example. If you are the boss of an organization and you find that there is one guy in your company who is not doing any work and you catch hold of him, as a boss, what will you do? Will you not give him that work plus some more workload? Have you not gone through this yourself? So much of workload that that person will finally be inundated with work. I mean, isn't that what you will do if you are a boss? So that he covers up for the work that is got left out, isn't it? That is how it works. It's a universal law. But some people may not like it because empowerment and all those things are there. But today, please understand, absolute truth cannot be questioned. Can I question the absolute truth? God, I want to come and question you. Do you think I can say that? I can't. As a human being, I have to only go through my karma, right? Prarabdha karma. and ensure that I don't know any additional one. How I cannot do additional one? By not getting into karmic traps. Remember, I was telling you yesterday or before that, do not get into karmic debts with anybody. Do not make judgments about another person. Do not say anything bad about another person. Do not get into any traps with other human being or animal or whatever. Don't. So you are going to remove what is called as an agami karma, the futuristic or kriyaman as we call it. So this absolute truth exists before time, during the creation, and at the end of the creation also. Now in this thing, did I say before, during and after these three things I said? So doesn't that tell you that the absolute truth and time is also important? So time remains. Time is called continuum. It is just continuing. So there is a beginning, there is a middle, there is an end. These three things happen. So this is the second part of the answer. Now we are moving to verse 20. Now this is an example which Krishna is giving. It's called gold alone is present before its manufacture into gold products. The gold alone remains after the product's destruction, and the gold alone is the essential reality which is being utilized under various designations. Similarly, I alone exists before the creation of the universe, after its destruction and during its maintenance. So Krishna is giving one example of gold. When I mine the gold and I bring those gold ingots, then what do? I create them into a chain, a bangle, whatever you want to create it, a locket, maybe, maybe a crown also, you may be king. But after I melt that thing, what happens? It again goes back to the original state called gold, isn't it? So gold, in between state, a ring or bangle or whatever, and then it again melts and goes back into the form of gold. So gold to back to gold. So Krishna says, before, during and after, I am like that gold. I am like that gold. I am the absolute truth. I am that gold. So I am the spirit, the soul, everything that you want to know. That entire thing that I showed you yesterday with the grid also. I am that. There is no change in that. So I am everything in that case. So before you got converted into a body, you became this body. My essence is inside of you. After this body is destroyed, then what happens? You will come back to the original place. That is me alone. That's what he says. The material mind manifests in three phases of consciousness: wakefulness, sleep and deep sleep, which are the products of the three modes of nature. The mind further appears in three different roles: the perceiver, the perceived and the regulator of perception. Thus the mind is manifested variously through these threefold designations. But it is the fourth factor existing separately from all this that alone constitutes the absolute truth. Simple explanation: whatever that you perceive, whatever you see, feel, touch, whatever, connected to the body, is not the absolute truth. Absolute truth is beyond all this, beyond the concept of mind, body and spirit. Beyond that, it's beyond mind, body and senses. All that is on one side, the spirit soul, the truth is on one side. So we are talking only about this truth. We are not talking about the body. So he begins over here. The material mind manifests in three phases of consciousness. Now, all this that I am talking about is actually entering your mind. Actually, that's a very big judgment I am making. It is entering your mind. Isn't that something very strange? I am saying it is entering your mind. Well, whether it is entering or not, it is somewhere it is absorbing. I don't know. I hope it does. So, the mind, that is the material mind, it has got three phases. One, now that you are seeing me, if you are not sleeping. Are you sleeping? No. You are watching me? Very good. If you are watching me and if you are seeing me, this is called the wakeful state. You are awake, you can see me, you can hear me, isn't it? Now, before this, what were you doing? You were sleeping with your eyes closed. Sometimes people sleep with their eyes open also. Well, sleeping. So that is the second state. In between these two states is called the dream state. You have heard of the dream state. So the material mind is going through these three phases. Is the mind absorbing anything during sleep? There is no way of knowing, because we are not conscious of it. It is actually an unconscious kind of a state, isn't it? In sleep, you do not absorb anything, supposedly. But tomorrow try this. Just before sleeping, you read a portion of the book and you put it under your head and go to sleep. And see what happens. Maybe something will enter your brain, I don't know. Maybe the words will start crawling up the book and it is going to enter your brain. I don't know. So in the sleep state also something is actually happening, but we don't know much about it because we have not studied that subject. So we say conscious state. Conscious state is the state where you are awake. Then in between there is a state which is called the dream state. What happens during the dream state? Sometimes people like Chitti are going to eat chicken biryani in their dream because he loves chicken biryani. Some people will want to wear fancy clothes. Some people will want to be wedding, wanting to go for the wedding of that prince. No, no. Something is happening in your dream. It is something that you desire or you want which you cannot get. Maybe it's a job, maybe it's money, maybe it's position, maybe it's something that comes in your dream. Something else comes in your dream and we call it nightmares. You're losing your job, you don't have any money left, you're falling off a cliff, your mother is beating you or somebody is beating you or something like that. The police are coming, you're put in jail, all that kind of nonsense which comes up. You're in the middle of a sea and you're getting drowned. God knows. Some nonsense will come and that is called nightmares. Maybe you'll find some ghosts also coming in your dream. Some dead people. I hear dead people, like that. You understand that movie? And he says, I hear dead people. Okay, you may be like that child. So, dream state is that kind of a state. It is very unreal. So when you open your eyes, that state doesn't exist. So these are the three states which the mind undergoes. These are the three modes of nature, products of the three modes of nature. What are the products? These are created by the sattva, rajas and tamoguna. Tamoguna will tell you how you can laze away, how you can waste your time, how you can murder people, how you can rob them, how you can do good, bad stuff in this world. Sattva guna is different, is our complete opposite. You will help people, you will go and visit temples, you will do all the good stuff. And if you have a dream, which is punctuated by this Rajoguna, then what happens? You are making money, you are becoming powerful, you are becoming famous, all those kind of things. Got it? So your dreams are designed as a product of these three gunas only. The main designer is the three gunas. They decide what kind of a dream you should have. Got it? The mind further appears in three different roles: the perceiver, the perceived, and the regulator of perception. Can you see me? Yes? Very good. So when you see me, you are the perceiver. You are seeing things. Then, this whom you see, this person whom you see is called the perceived, the object. What is the object? Just you seeing and me being seen doesn't end, no? Some action is happening there. You are seeing this person, so you are the one who is watching me, seeing me. I am the seen object. This transaction in between is called perception. Something is happening, activity. So these three things are there. The mind does these three things. Got it? The mind does these three things. These three things can be divided into different stuff. You can use your eyes for perception. I told you can use your nose also, you can use your ears also, mouth also. How do you perceive? Through your nose. I am sitting over here, I can smell something is burning on the gas stove. My sense of smell is there. So am I not perceiving it? I am actually understanding that something is burning. So nose, I am the one who is perceptor. I am perceiving that thing. What is happening over there? Something is burning. That is giving off a smell. And that action between these two is the perception. Got it? Same way with my tongue. I eat lemon drops. You know those candies that you get, lemon drops. The moment I put them in my mouth, I do like this because it's a little bit sour. So, the object, that is the lemon candy, my tongue, the moment I put it in my tongue, I perceive that it is lemon candy. And what happens is called perception. Right? So, I can do it with my skin also. I can touch some object. You get a shock when you touch electrical, live wires or something like that, correct? So that is your sense of touch, wire, and what happens in between, that shock which you get is called perception. So did you get the point? So it is the mind which does all this. If I expand this subject further, it is the judgment that you make. With your eyes you see something, with your ears you hear something, with your nose you smell something, with your mouth you taste something, with your body you touch something. And your mind then starts jumping to conclusions. Gossip. When you gossip about someone, yesterday I saw that girl, she had gone for this Meghan Markle's, that wedding. Oh my God, you should see how she was dressed. Now, you might not have seen this person, but the way I am describing it to you is creating an impression. Already it's creating an impression, isn't it? Oh my God, she was dressed so badly. But if I change my expression and say, wow, she was really dressed like an angel, does the perception change? Did you see the same thing can be projected in two different ways or maybe multiple ways? So when one person talks to another person or one person gives an impression to another person, that is all false impressions. This is what the book is talking about. It is an impression created in the mind. It has nothing to do with absolute truth. Did you get the point? A simple experiment will be like this. I do not show you the bottle. I will not show you the bottle. I will put 3 drinks in front of you. One is Coca-Cola, one is Pepsi, and one is, say, maybe Thumbs Up or something like that. It will have no label on it, or maybe I poured it in a glass. Can you tell me which is Coke? Nobody can tell you, because all 3 drinks look the same. Isn't it? Now, without using your sense perception, you are only seeing, okay? You have gone to a club or a discotheque, and from when you enter, you see a woman standing over there, you can recognize her. Now suddenly the lights go out. Remember, there are 100 women in that room. Can you say where that woman is? No. It is because of perception you thought you understood where she is, isn't it? Because you perceived it. But at the end of it, if I remove all the bodies from there, who is the real one? Nobody. Did you get the point? No? Everybody is an angel over there. Now can you tell me who is the one? No, you cannot. If there are 100 marbles, every marble is different color, and I tell you to pick up the red marble from it, will you be able to pick it out? Yes, because you are seeing it. Now in a dark room, I give you a box of marble, dark room, and I tell you pick up a blue marble, will you be able to do it? No. Because in that darkness, you cannot make out the difference. So now do you understand? When you remove these senses from the picture, when you remove the senses from the picture, the mind has no feed. So a blind man cannot understand the color of a rose. Got the answer? In the same way, if there is no perception per se, the mind will not get any responses. So if you want to become spiritual, you have to cut off all these senses that are there. Cut off. Cut off means do not make judgment with your senses. What you hear with your ears, don't make judgment. With your nose, what you smell, don't make judgment. With your eyes, what you see, don't make judgment. What you hear from your mouth, from somebody's mouth, don't make judgments. What you taste, don't make judgment. What you touch, feel and all, don't make judgment. So first rule of spirituality is do not go with the senses. So you will not feed the mind. Why? Why? The question is why? Why should I not feed the senses, the mind with the senses? There are lots of these girl movies. It's all about one person talking bad about another person. So many movies and so many serials are there. So they call it bitching. One person bitches to another. Oh, she's like this, she's like that, blah, 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 all that. What is the truth in that? There is no truth. It is a perception of that person. Just they are seeing some nonsense and they start making judgments on another person. So first rule, do not make judgments on anybody. Even if you hear, even if you touch, even if you feel. You may say, I learnt my lesson today. What is the lesson that you learned? Never to take anybody from their face value. Never to make a judgment. How did you learn? From X I learnt. Because when the person was talking, I learned that I should not be making judgments. X is learning from Y. She gets all her feed from the other friend of hers. Just now only you said, no, you are not going to make judgments. Then why are you telling me X is getting the feeds from Y? That is a judgment you are making. You don't even know. You have no understanding of the subject. In spirituality, we do not interfere and bother our heads about what the mind thinks. Can you understand this subject? If you are in spiritual, why are you bothered about things? See what he says. Thus the mind is manifested. I'm sorry, I have extended the time for, I can't see the watch also. One more minute and then I will stop. Variously through these threefold designations, Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. But it is the fourth factor existing separately which alone constitutes the absolute truth. Get out of your mind and see the absolute truth. I will elaborate it in the coming week on this, the absolute truth. So I will stop over here and I will see you all coming week. Bye.